Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. In today's video, we're going to be doing a book haul. So these are all the books that I've acquired in the last few months. Most of them I've bought with my own money. I was sent a few books, so I will talk about those as well. But I started piling them up starting in January, and I feel like I have enough for a haul now. So let me count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have 22 books here to talk about. Maybe I need to go on a book buying ban. Will that happen? Probably not. I feel like most of these books I got used or through Book of the Month, which is, you know, kind of cheap. Only a very few of them are like brand new full price books, so I think it's okay. You know, like book buying is a hobby in and of itself, and it's a hobby that I love, so I'm probably not going to give it up. I really don't feel like I'm putting that much of my income towards it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. These books are really in no particular order. They're kind of like roughly in the order in which I acquired them. I think that's all I have to say. Let's start talking about the books. At the beginning of the year, when Barnes & Noble was doing their like half off hardcover sale, I picked up these three and they actually go so well together. Like the color schemes are so pretty. But the first one that I got was Legend of the White Snake by Cher Lee. This is a YA fantasy. In this book, our main character's main goal is trying to save his mother. She's dying slowly of this mysterious illness, and the cure is hidden in this white pearl that's been consumed by this white snake. He travels to another city to try and find this snake. Turns out the snake is like a snake shifter, and it just so happens to be the boy that he's falling in love with. So there's a case of like mistaken identity in this, and a little romance, and also some drama, and it sounds like a mother-son relationship. This one sounds really good, and I needed a book that had a snake on the cover for a reading challenge I'm doing, so this one was perfect because I am definitely interested in it and it meets that challenge. So I got this one from Barnes & Noble, and then I also picked up Celestial Monsters by Aiden Thomas, which is the second book in the Sunbearer Trials series, which is a YA fantasy series that involves like demigods competing in this mythical challenge thing, and I think there's an romance involved. I also believe our main character possibly trans. I'm not sure about that though. Maybe not. That might be incorrect information. Have I read the first book in the series? No. Did I buy the second one anyway? Yes. A book that I have read the first of is, what is it called? The Dark Rise series by C.S. Picot. This is the second book in that series, Dark Air. The first book I read in a reading vlog and I loved it. It was so good, like a 5-star read. So I had to immediately get my hands on this one as soon as I possibly could. I'm so excited to pick this one up and read it. I want to do like a continuing series reading vlog here soon in the next couple of months, so I definitely will be reading this book in that video. This is just like an epic YA fantasy with like forces of good and evil, and things may not be exactly as they seem. Maybe we're rooting for the bad guys, and our main character Will is kind of caught up in the middle of all of this, and it's kind of like a spin on the Chosen One trope as well. And there's some really interesting, like at the end of the book there were some hints of this interesting like romance starting to potentially form that will maybe progress in this book. The love interest character though, so fascinating. I'm so excited to get more of him, hopefully in this book. But it was really good. The first one, so good. So I'm so excited that I have this one and I can't wait to get to it. All right. I've kind of been gathering books in like groups of 3. So the next group of 3 books that I purchased, I got at a secondhand bookstore in Manhattan when I was there one weekend with my cousin. And it was a really cool bookstore. I really liked it. And I picked these 3 up. What was it called? Book Off. It's called Book Off if you're in the city and want to go. So I got these 3. The first one I picked up was You Should Be So Lucky by Cat Sebastian. This is the second book in the Mid-Century NYC series by Cat Sebastian, which is obviously set in the mid-century in NYC. This one is 1960 and it follows a romance between a reporter and a baseball player, and it's so good. I already read this one. 5 stars. This is my favorite book of the year so far. It's incredible. It is so good. So good. The way Cat Sebastian writes is just crazy. I think I will already have talked about this in a reading vlog before this video goes up, so I'm sure if you watch that video, you'll already have heard my thoughts, but yeah. loved this book, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection because I annotated the shit out of it. I like underlined something every other page. It felt like the writing is just so beautiful and the romance is so lovely. And I also picked up another Cat Sebastian book while I was there. This is The Perfect Crimes of Marion Hayes, and it is a follow-up to The Queer Principles of Kit Webb, I'm pretty sure. I think we meet Marion in that book, and she is like one of the main characters in that book's amazing bisexual best friend, and this is her romance. So I was excited to find this one as well for a really good price. This was only $5.50. Sorry, this one's crazy. But yeah, I loved that book and I love Cat Sebastian, and I want to know how Marion's romance goes. So I'm so excited to have this one in my collection as well. And last but certainly not least, I picked up Saint by Sierra Simone. Now, there's kind of a story to this book. So this is an romance between a pastor, a preacher, and some guy. Sierra Simone is not really an author, I would say. I feel like she only has a few books, so interested to read this one. I'm reading it for another list video, and I found it at that bookstore, and I was like, why in the hell is it $30? So then I looked it up and I realized that this cover is very coveted and goes for like $70, $80 on PANGO and eBay. In my head, I was like, oh, well, $30, that's a steal. For a paperback book. So I bought it, I purchased it, and if I don't like it, I'll sell it on the black market. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put it up at like a reasonable price probably on my Pango, but I was like, this is an investment. This is an investment. I need to purchase this book. So I did. Right. And the next set of books were my January book of the month picks. Now I have some credits built up because my mom gave me some for Christmas, and also like I've skipped a couple of months. So I got 3 books from book of the month in January. The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune was like my book of the month pick, and I'm really interested to get to this one. This is a republished TJ Klune book. This is not a new TJ Klune book, but it's like new republished, I guess. So this book does kind of sound, I would say in the genre of TJ Klune that like The House in the Cerulean Sea are, and Under the Whispering Door, but it also sounds more contemporary than those. So I think that this book deals with magic. We're following our main character Nate, and Nate has like lost his job, lost everything. He returns to his family's summer cabin in Oregon. The cabin should be empty, but it's not. Inside there's a man named Alex living, and also a 10-year-old girl. And it turns out that this 10-year-old girl has some kind of like crazy magic powers, and there's like forces out to get her. Nate decides that he needs to go all in on this and like try and protect this girl because she's special. I'm sure there's probably romance between Nate and Alex, and also some interesting like magical apocalyptic things going on with this girl. So I'm super interested to pick this one up. I haven't read a ton of TJ Klune's like previously like non-traditionally published stuff, so I'm excited that this got a new like reprinting and is going to be in more people's hands, including my own. So I'm excited to get to this one, and I'm sure it will be amazing because TJ Klune is always amazing. And then I did get 2 add-ons in January as well. I decided to pick up The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. Now, if you don't know, I'm so deep in YouTube lore, like in every niche, I know what's going on. I love YouTube so much. I don't know if anyone knows this about me, but I love it. It's just, I don't know. I'm so interested to read this because if you didn't know, the Frankie family they were always like a very famous YouTube mommy family vlogger channel, and Sherry Frankie is the oldest daughter, and her mom got involved with this crazy grifter therapist lady who had lost her license and basically convinced her to blow up her family. Sherry Frankie's mom was always, what's her name? I can't remember her name. Ruby. Her mom's name is Ruby. Ruby Frankie was always very like had abusive tendencies, only saw her kids as content, like that kind of a family vlogger, was horrible to her children. But when she hooked up with this therapist lady, she really like convinced her to go off the deep end. Ruby Frankie and this therapist lady were both arrested for child endangerment and abuse. And so Sherry Frankie is the oldest daughter. She's in college now, and she's written her own story, and I'm so fascinated to read the story. I'm so glad she was able to use her voice in this way, that she's here to use her voice in this way. It just is so horrible that all of this stuff happened. I'm very invested in like family vlogging not being a thing. Like, it's totally sick and disgusting, and it's crazy that there are no protections put in place for children children like there are in Hollywood. It's the same thing, it's entertainment industry, but it's so uncontrolled and it's so fueled by money. These parents are just not being good parents because they're seeing their kids' content. This is a first-hand account of that mess, of that disaster, so I'm so excited to read this, and I'm so excited to support Sherry, and I hope she's doing well, and I can't wait to read her story. And then I also picked up the new Emily Austen book, We Could Be Rats. I believe this is a story about two sisters. Somebody's queer. Yeah, so basically this is about two sisters who were never really close growing up, but now as adults, they're coming back together and like reforming that bond. They're very different. They are really all each other has. It sounds like they kind of had a messed up home life. And yeah, I'm really interested in this one. I do have Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen, and I haven't read it yet, but I don't know. I just feel like I would probably like her writing from what I've heard from other people, and that I would probably like her stories. I just don't reach for like lit fic the same way I do other things. But this is so short that I'm very excited to read. Oh my god, there's a little rat eating a hot dog on the back of this book. Isn't that so cute? Okay, sold. All right, the next book I acquired was kind of like a random impulse purchase. I recently went to New Orleans with my family, and there's all these like cool like voodoo, magic, witchy, dark arts kind of shops. I saw this book and it just really intrigued me, and it's called The United States of Cryptids, and it's basically just a little encyclopedia of every single cryptid myth that the US has, which I just think is so fascinating. One of my favorite channels here on YouTube is Hannah the Horrible, and she does like horror content, ghost debunking videos, and she also talks about like cryptids and like anything creepy and weird. And I love her cryptid videos, and it's made me like so interested, just the phenomenon of cryptids. And also I grew up in Appalachia, so obviously a lot of cryptid stories in that area, so that really fascinates me as well. So yeah, I think that this will be a really cool book to just like read through every once in a while, and it just was really fun and intriguing and felt fitting to buy in New Orleans. I did. All right, and then these two books I acquired from, I think it's called Sweet Pickle Books in Manhattan. It was my first time being there. If you don't know, it's just this really skinny little bookstore in Manhattan, but you can trade in used books for jars of pickles. You can also just purchase pickles. They like have somebody that makes pickles for them in-house, like not in-house, they don't make them there, but I don't know what it's called. You know, they're somebody makes the pickles for the bookstore. They're not just like Vlasic pickles. I think you get what I'm trying to say. You can also like just buy books separately or whatever. I got these two books there. It's a really cool bookstore, really cute. Would definitely recommend if you're ever, and if you live here or if you visit Manhattan. Very fun bookstore. Anyway, they surprisingly had like a really good queer romance section, which made me so happy. They actually had a really good selection of all kinds of books. So I ended up getting these two. I got Catch and Cradle by Katya Rose, which is a WLW sports romance. I believe they play lacrosse based on the cover. It does seem like they're in college, and Becca is the captain who does not want any inter-team romances happening. And Hope is like maybe 2 years younger than her and is like new to the team and instantly like has a crush on Becca. Sounds like she's been harboring a crush for like 2 years now at the start of this book. And Becca, I think, is a bit distracted by Hope as well. So they have to kind of figure out how they're going to navigate this relationship drama while being on the sports team together. So I think this sounds cute. I wanted to read a Katya Rose for a while, and I just thought it was cool that this like indie published book was in that bookstore, so I purchased it. And the other book that I got there was Witchmark by C.L. Polk. This is the first book in an like fantasy apocalyptic romance. Yeah, it says, in an original world reminiscent of Edwardian England in the shadow of a world war, noble families use their unique magical gifts to control the fates of nations, while one young man seeks only to live a life of his own. My next list video that I'm working on, it had the second book in the series on there. I don't know why. I'm gonna read the first book in the series instead. So I picked it up because it was there. And oh, see, here's the pickle bookmark from the pickle bookstore. This sounds good. I'm excited to read this one. I got a magnet too. I forgot I got a magnet. So cute. All right. The next three books are books that I actually got sent by the author. She had somebody reach out to me and ask if I would be interested. And I looked up the books. They sounded really interesting to me. And so I decided to be like, yeah, I will take them. I'll take a look at them, and I'm actually really excited to read them. They sound right up my alley, to be honest with you. She sent me her Boys Love series, which is a series of interconnected standalones. The author's name is Rebecca James, and these are a series of romance books that are set on boys love shows, which I think are popular gay TV shows in Korea, if I'm not mistaken. The first one is called Boys Love, the second is called In Love, and the third is called Baby Love. And I think that there's another one coming out soon. They're not on KU, but I think that they're fairly affordable on Kindle. I'll link them down below if you're interested. excited. Oh, she signed these for me too. So nice. Actually, correction. It sounds like these are set in Thailand, not Korea. Okay, now that I've read the back, book 1 and 2 are a series. They need to be read together. This is book 1 of Rama and Pravat, like meeting, falling in love, strangers to lovers, meet on this TV show, fall in love. In Love, it's the second season of their TV show. They're still in love and they're like having to keep their relationship a secret. So this is established relationship dealing with the repercussions of like being famous and being in a relationship with your co-star. And then this third book is like interconnected, standalone, following different actors on a different TV show. And it sounds like one of the characters previously had a crush on the other. And it sounds like the concept of like fan service is really big in these books and like playing up like their interactions and being together as like advertisement for the TV show and then like lines blurring and you know, that kind of a concept. So I feel like that sounds interesting too. Gives me like One Direction vibes. I'm a One Direction girly and loved my fanfiction back in the day. So yeah, I'm really excited to read these. I think they sound really cool. So I will keep you guys posted and let you know what I think of them. All right. And then recently I did a little Barnes & Noble order because I really wanted to purchase this book, You'll Under Great Persuasion by Alexandra Rowland, because I included it in my spring TBR and I just really wanted to own it. Her books like aren't very widely accessible for some reason. Like you can't just walk into a Barnes & Noble and find them. So I was like, I'll just order it. So I did. And I'm glad to have it. And it's actually really little. Like all of her other books are really massive. So this book being small is like, it's really funny to me. This is an fantasy romance following these two characters who, well, it's like a one-sided enemies to lovers, but they've been sleeping together for 10 years. I think there's some kind of catalyst that finally is like, oh, maybe we actually like each other. So I think this sounds really good. I loved Alexandra. Well, I've read one book by Alexandra Rowland, but I loved it so much. So I'm gonna continue to read all of her books and I'm so excited to read this one. It sounds perfect for spring and I will definitely be getting to it very soon. And while I was ordering that, I was like, I might as well pre-order one of my most anticipated books, and that was Go Luck Yourself by Sarah Rush. This is the second book in the Royals and Romance series, I believe. Yeah. In this book, we're following the second Prince of Christmas and his romance with the Prince of St. Patrick. I loved the first book in this series, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which was the Crown Prince of Christmas and the Crown Prince of Halloween falling in love. And it was like a cute Christmassy kind of romance, but it was so good. The characters were so incredible and the chemistry and like the banter and the dialogue was just so well done. I was so invested in it. So I definitely had to pick this next one up, even though the whole concept of like holidays having royal families that are like keeping the magic of the holiday alive behind the scenes is really goofy. It comes across really campy. Like Sarah Rush did a really good job. Like it's very aware that it's ridiculous and she makes it so funny and so much fun. So I'm so excited to read this one. I definitely want to read it very soon and that's the plan. I also just love that these books have sprayed edges. Like it's so fun. I'm glad we're doing that more here in the state. All right. And then on my recent layover in Sacramento, I went to 2 different really cool bookstores. I did film some content there, so maybe I'll make a short about it. But I got these 2 at the first bookstore we went to, which I think is called Capitol Hill Book or just Capital Books maybe. I got these 2. So the first one is Sorcery and Small Magics, and this is a fantasy romance. Do you think I like fantasy romances? Do you think that might be something I'm interested in? So the tagline on this book is 2 rival sorcerers are bound together by a curse and forced on a quest deep into the perilous forest to find a counterspell. They may find that magic is not the only thing pulling them together. I love a forced bonding trope and I love a fantasy romance, so I'm so excited for this book. I've like looked at it at every bookstore I've been to for a while and I'm like, I really want to buy that book. And I just haven't. One, because I felt like I already had it, but I think I was thinking about this book, which, you know, admittedly does look pretty similar. I actually think I might do a fun reading vlog where I read books that have covers that look like this, because I honestly own quite a few that have like silhouettes and plants on them that are specifically fantasy romances, which is very strange. Anyway, but I finally picked this one up, so I finally have it and I'm really excited to read it because it sounds right up my alley. Sounds right up my alley. I can't wait. And I also picked this book up at the store, that same bookstore, because I have never heard about it before. I've never heard of this book and it sounds so good. This is a sci-fi multiverse romance. Like, that sounds amazing. I love that shit. And I was really good and I didn't even look it up on Goodreads because I feel like sometimes that can just really influence me a lot. Sometimes I wonder if I can even form my own opinions because because I feel like I'm so influenced by what other people think of things. So I really want to go into this book like blind, not knowing anything, and form my own opinion and then see what the average rating is on Goodreads. It's so rare that I like come across a book like this that I haven't heard of. So I'm like, I want to give it a fair shot, a fair rumble, you know? And then we went to another bookstore in Sacramento that's called Beers and Books. And this was a used bookstore, and I picked up these two gems. This is Only Revolutions by Mark Z. Danielewski. I recently read Mark Z. Danielewski's House of Leaves, and I loved it. I thought it was so incredible. Very outside what I typically read, but also I love multimedia, weird stuff sometimes. I love books. Innovation in books, like I think is so cool that book was so different than anything I'd ever read before in my life. So I definitely wanted to pick this one up. I didn't really even know he had more books. I don't know if this one came before or it must have come after because it says author of House of Leaves down here. He also just announced he's writing a new book, which is cool. But this book is following two different characters, Haley and Sam, and it just says they're trying to outrace history itself. Some kind of road trip thing. I don't really know. I don't really know what it's about, but basically it's kind of two books in one. It says at the beginning to like read 8 pages of Haley's book and then read 8 pages of Sam's book. So Haley's book reads normal, front to back. Sam's book starts in the back, upside down. And then you like, yeah, see, you can see from the cover too. Like, I don't know, it's just such a cool concept. It's so unique. I just like stuff like this. I think it's so fascinating. So I'm excited to pick this one up. It's definitely a lot less daunting than House of Leaves too. So I'm excited about that as well. And then I also picked up The Emperor and the Endless Palace by Justinian Wong. This book is something that I was very interested in, but I'm also kind of afraid I'm not gonna like it. Mostly because I've read the reviews on Goodreads. Which I need to stop doing. But also this is kind of like a reincarnation story. So it's basically following these two characters who like meet again and again across history, across time, and are like drawn to each other, have a relationship with one another. And I think there's like a really ancient one, a middle one, and then like a more modern storyline, and like all three are in this book. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't always love stories that take place across a long span of time. It's just one of my weird quirks, my weird reading quirks. So that's kind of why I'm nervous about this book, other than the reviews. But it was only $9 used. If I don't like it, oh well. I think I might like it though. So I definitely am like interested in it. Interested enough to pick it up. So I'll let you know how it goes. And then last but not least, I also picked up Our Infinite Fates by Lauren Stephen this month from Book of the Month. This month being March. And it's funny because this is a reincarnation story as well. So in this book it says Evelyn can remember all her past lives. She can also remember that in every single one she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being linked to her soul. The problem is that she's quite fond of the life she's in now, and her little sister needs her in order to stay alive. If Evelyn wants to save her sister, she'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before they find her first. Figure out why she's being hunted and finally break their curse, and try not to fall in love again. So it sounds like she might fall in love with this demon that's been haunting her and killing her when she turns 18, which sounds super interesting. It's pitched as like Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I love. This Is How You Lose the Time War. Haven't read Addie LaRue, but I can see where that's coming from. This is also just a really beautiful book. I love the gold foiling. It's so like subtle and pretty. Those are all the books that I've hauled over the past 3 months since this year has begun. Let me know in the comments if you saw any books that you need me to prioritize. I would love to take your opinion into account in planning my TBRs in my future videos. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to do the fun YouTube things like subscribing and liking. I also linked these books in the description if you would like to purchase any of them yourself. These are affiliate links. I earn a tiny commission if you purchase through them. No pressure, just there for you, for your convenience. You can also follow me on all social media. Those links are in the description as well. And I think that is everything for me today. So thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. We'll be right back.